Alright, what's going on everybody? Cryptix here, and today, man, I wanted to do a follow-up video from the VoxAdPocalypse upload that I had yesterday on the YouTube channel. Now, just a quick background, basically there's this guy named Steven Crowder who's on the right-wing end of things when it comes to politics, and then on the left-hand side, we have Carlos Maza, who is essentially a guy that works for Vox and has made a lot of different types of content portraying liberal points of view. Now, I'm not trying to get political here, just like my last video. I mainly want to talk about what the results are for YouTube after it is all said and done with this case. Now, before we even jump into the video, guys, don't forget to drop a like. It is so greatly appreciated on the channel. You actually have no idea how each and every like does count. And if you're new to the channel, hit that sub button and that bell next to the subscribe button next to my name. But yeah, let's talk about it. So if you guys don't have any type of background information, I'm just going to give you a brief summary. There's a lot of other channels that will go really in depth on exactly who said what, but basically Steven Crowder is on the right wing end and has kind of bashed Carlos Maza for his liberal points of view. And this is where I think YouTube came in to actually demonetize Crowder. You heard that correctly. Basically, Crowder said something along the lines of a Latino queer, never dropped like an FAG word on, any type of gay person. He never did that. He only called him a queer, lispy Latino. Those are the worst words that Crowder has said about this guy on his channel. And he didn't flat out say, hey bro, you're a queer. It wasn't like that. It was kind of like a rubbing friendly jab at the guy for having basically an opposing point of view to Crowder, which is Carlos and Vox. Now, Carlos basically went to Twitter, tagged YouTube, and YouTube's been reviewing Crowder's channel and the particular videos for the past few days. And just yesterday, conveniently after I uploaded my video about how YouTube clearly isn't doing anything, they actually have done something, which I said before is demonetizing Crowder. Now, we don't know how long he's going to be demonetized for. We do not know right now if it's a permanent demonetization or if it's some type of suspension. And on top of that, YouTube hasn't stated that if Crowder does get rid of his t-shirt links on his YouTube videos and his channel, then he should be able to get monetized back. But it's kind of like a gray area right now. Like, we don't know for sure if he's going to get his monetization. But, I don't want to talk about the politics. I mainly want to discuss how this is going to affect YouTube from here on out. This basically sets a precedent for other people to simply get offended by words and flag another channel and potentially destroy a potential channel and another person's career, because as you may know, a lot of people work on YouTube. They're actually full-time YouTube channel creators on the whole platform, and this is very, very concerning because Carlos actually brought this attention to YouTube. YouTube didn't, just out of nowhere find Crowder's channel and demonetize it. No, a particular person had their feelings hurt and then complained to YouTube. And there was a certain point in time, a certain window where YouTube said, hey, we're not going to do anything here. And then Carlos and a bunch of SJWs and people from the Vox platform bashed YouTube, were threatening to basically talk about other sponsors and try to have ads pulled from YouTube from this case because YouTube didn't do anything. And then YouTube bent the knee, basically, so to speak, if you guys are fans of Game of Thrones. And that's exactly what YouTube did. They had to say, all right, we got to do something. Let's demonetize him. Now, Crowder is still making money from, his career. He's got a mug club. He's got, sponsorships. He's got his own talk show, podcast. But that's a huge chunk of revenue. I would venture to guess that that's about 60 to 70% of Crowder's revenue, just poof, gone like that, demonetized. And we don't know if it's permanent. And if it's permanent, that's very, very dangerous for the rest of YouTube. Now, I do want to talk about freedom of speech as well, because, this is obviously monitoring and censoring certain words in speech. Now, I also want to establish something that I didn't mention, is that this guy, Carlos Maza, the guy that complained to YouTube, his Twitter handle is @gaywonk on Twitter. And he literally is openly gay. This is not somebody that's, hiding or ashamed or doesn't want their sexual orientation to be displayed. No, he talks about being gay. He talks about being queer. He talks about being a Latino gay guy. Basically, that's how his career jump started. And now his career is basically projecting tenfold because of this whole case. Now, Crowder did, say Latino queer, and I'm not enforcing that type of behavior. However, the way and the context that it was used kind of seemed like not particularly targeting in a group of people or being bigoted, but more just, friendly rubbing. Like when you call your boys, like, I'm not even going to say it, but like PRICK or something like that, just as like jokes and rubbing. That's not like flat out insulting somebody. And that's the context that Crowder used Latino queer. And this is probably going to harm and hinder a lot of YouTube channels going forward. And I believe Vox and other social media stations are going to particularly target conservatives and right-wing people and censor their channels and demonetize their channels. Now, the problem with this is that there's this gray area now, because the context that Crowder used his words is not really like totally bad, but it's obviously not great, but it's definitely not something that would make me feel like he's racist or bigoted towards a group of people. And now you're going to have a bunch of other conservative channels, and even channels that simply, have just called another channel queer or gay or something along those lines just to simply make fun of or rub against another channel. That channel could potentially be demonetized as well. So it's kind of like censoring words. And I was actually watching Joe Rogan's podcast the other day. I highly recommend you go check that guy out if you haven't. He's got a ton of great people on there. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday actually about this case. And, Joe Rogan had a good point of view. He said, this isn't some type of bar where, some guy calls some other guy a fat kid or a gay person or whatever you want to say it. I don't really feel comfortable even saying those type of words on this channel. But let's just say, some guy in the bar said something to another guy. The bartender or whoever else can simply say, hey, get out of our bar. You're harming other people verbally and you're making people feel uncomfortable. That's totally fine. But when it gets to the stage of YouTube, where YouTube is this gigantic platform with information being shared, hours, billions of hours uploaded to the platform every single day, it is definitely concerning where, this overarching platform, basically a monopoly on video sharing, is essentially censoring other channels and their words and what they have to say. Even if it's, along the lines of saying some person's lesbian, gay, transsexual, queer. Queer is not technically a quote-unquote bad word because it's part of that LGBTQ community. So when it gets down to it, like I said before, this is a gray area, and I'm concerned for channels going forward, and especially channels that have said stuff in the past, because Crowder has said these things in the past, guys. It isn't like something totally recent in the past week. No, Crowder's been doing this for over a year or two, and Vox and Carlos Maza dug up footage 2 years ago and basically got his channel demonetized, which, like I said before, makes me worried for other channels. I kind of have been very careful in my wording and in my YouTube career, but for other channels that have made fun of other people. And this, like I said before, sets a huge precedent. I think it's going to damage other people's careers and other people's channels. And the main thing here is that, this is going to change the platform. People don't realize it now, but it's kind of like when you puncture a hole into something that basically had a tight seal. This case is puncturing that hole. That hole is now going to get bigger, larger, and create even more problems now, because YouTube has to essentially censor people's words, take away vocabulary that used to be not totally accepted everywhere, but wouldn't have another channel get flagged for it. And now we're seeing channels get flagged for it because Crowder is the first victim in what I believe is going to be a gigantic channel purge in the next couple of weeks or so. And like I said, I'm worried. I don't know what's going to even happen to my channel. I mean, I haven't really called anybody out, haven't targeted a group of people, but hey, you know, when you have an opposing viewpoint and the left and maybe even moderate people or people that just have opposing viewpoints from mine or other people that are sort of on the side are going to essentially destroy those people's careers just because you have a different opinion, that's kind of scary, guys. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. Don't forget to drop a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that sub button and that bell next to the subscribe button next to my name. And most of all, I want to know your comments down below. Do you think this is going to destroy the platform? Do you think there's going to be another platform that competes with YouTube that actually values freedom of speech, at least to a degree where someone's not getting murdered or a crime's not being involved? So I think that's what needs to be done. I think a competitor does personally need to stand up to YouTube, but hey, you know, YouTube can still give a reasonable punishment for Crowder. I think the most reasonable thing would be to temporarily demonetize him for maybe like a week, just as a warning, but we still don't know that yet. So I'm Cryptix. I hope my channel doesn't get demonetized, even though it hasn't earned any money yet because I need 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. And I'm signing off.